Good evening, one and all, ladies and gentlemen. It's Wednesday night. It's midnight here in the Czech Republic, and it is time for Camera and Flask with my two good friends, Jem Schofield and Caleb Pike. How are we doing this evening, gentlemen?
Oh, good.
You sound world weary this evening.
Well,
Caleb.
There's
I know there's a lot
events.
going on.
Yeah.
Well,
Yep.
yeah.
You know, here we are. We're living in America, and and you're in the Czech Republic, and we've got an hour of let's just talk shop and drink and be with our friends. And I think that's not always a bad thing. And then we can get back to reality. There you go.
Yeah, or not. Let's just stay in this little bubble for a while.
Yeah, I like the bubble. The bubble's good sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Well, welcome to everyone in the chat as well. Good to see so many of you in here and having a natter already. Even in Czech 360. I'm very, very impressed. That was great. So I think we need to start in the traditional manner and get some liquid in us to get this thing oiled up and on the road. So let's start this week with Mr. Caleb Pike. What are you drinking?
Oh boy, I am actually, I don't know, I may have had this last week, but recently. But we're back to Templeton Rye.
Yeah.
Stock's a bit low, and got a 1.5 Caleb.
1.5 Caleb. So that means like
left.
what does that mean? A Caleb is
A Caleb is
Caleb
there's
is a
one drink
large
left.
unit. Oh, there's one. Okay.
Like quantity remaining.
So you may have to open another bottle today.
Oh yeah, I think we'll be good to go. So I'm just gonna pour that up. Just a nice, delicious rye.
Good.
And that's it for me.
Excellent.
Good.
Jem, what are you on this week?
This week, my friends, I'm going to mix it up a little bit, and I'm going to have some Casamigos. Come on, kiddos. George, I got to support George Clooney because it probably he hasn't been working. Is it actually he probably hasn't been working during all of this mess. So, you don't, well, he actually sold the company already. But Casamigos Añejo, I prefer the Reposado, but that's what I have. So I'm having a little sipping tequila today. Is my drink of choice, mixing it up from the whiskey, and sometimes during the summertime you got to do that. And how about you, Mr. Ben Barden?
Well, I am. This is always a difficult time of day for me. I have a fridge full of beer, and I've been outside gardening in the hot sun all day. So I've fought the urge. I've not drunk a beer this afternoon because it kills me then by this time of day, and then I'm all sleepy and not full of energy. So I haven't drunk any alcohol yet today. But I'm going to go for a red wine. I need to get a good night's sleep because I've got an early meeting tomorrow. So I'm going to do this. This will knock me out. It's that little balance as to how much you drink, so that I want to keep the energy going through this and then just crash the second we finish. So that's what I'm on. So as soon as I get this open.
Oh, beautiful! Gorgeous. Love that sound.
Did you like the sound?
I did. It was very. The Godfather again. It was good. It was. Yeah. Oh,
it's an Italian wine as well, so there we go. So that all fits in with the Godfather sort of thing. There we go. I have no idea what this is like. This is something that I found in my local supermarket. We'll see.
Sky says tequila and lemonade, a poor man's margarita, but depends on how much that tequila it costs. So there you go. Hey, kids, happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. Na zdrowie. Cheers.
Happy Wednesday. Look at that.
Oh, that's really good.
Very nice.
Really good. All right. So before we get into this week's show, we just haven't had a catch up, the three of us, for a little while. So I just wanted to find out what we've all been up to. What's been going on over the last week or two?
Yeah. Well,
jobs-wise, we actually got any work on? I know Caleb manages to kind of keep chugging away through this, but I know you were in California for a job. So have you been chasing any more gigs since then?
I just put together like a 3-part series that I think I'm going to do, which is going to be on remote production. So it's going to cover video communication skills. It's going to cover live streaming. It's going to cover doing virtual events, which I have one coming up at my friend's winery on Sunday. So it's all about doing that kind of stuff, but on a budget. So it's not the high end, you're bringing in, 50 people and you're renting all the gear. It's doing this kind of stuff, but doing it for high production value. So I think what's going to happen is that series is going to occur, and it's going to be on 2 platforms. One of them is going to be my course platform. So I think I'm going to do a 3-part series, and I'm going to start working on that in the next couple of weeks. And like to do some more stuff around the XT4 as well. But yeah, I'm still waiting for some real work to come in, meaning, production work from clients. But it seems like at least some things are starting to move now. There's some chatter and people are starting to think about how we do this. I think it's going to be very hard on the mid to high end of the market in terms of what you have to do, the legal things that you have to do, the waivers that you have to get signed. But when you're talking about more documentary, small to no crew corporate stuff, it's going to be a lot of common sense, right? You're still going to pull permits. You're still going to be very careful about what you do. But if you're in a small town, you're not in a big city, then I think it's going to be a little bit different. So yeah, that's it. And I'm just, I'm hoping it just keeps easing up, and we've got other issues going on, but from a community standpoint, I think that everybody wants to get back to work and everybody's itching to do things. So that's my fingers crossed. Rob, come on, you beautiful person. Rob's been up in his game on his series, by the way. He's working on a series where they review movies and stuff. So we've had a couple of chats. So thank you, Rob, for the super chat. $5 Canadian, which turns out to be probably $3.16.5 US, and I very much appreciate it. So there you go. Awesome.
Well, we're on there. You've also missed one from Shiz. Oh, yeah,
what?
There we go.
What happened? What happened?
Shiz donated too.
Oh, come on. Oh, my goodness. Let's go back, you crazy fool. Where is it? I got to find it. Whoa, is that €4? €4 from Shiz. Or as we lovingly call him, Shiznuts. And here he is. And €4 is probably closer to, well, what's the exchange rate right now, Mr. Ben Barden? US dollars?
What? Euros to US dollars? I have no idea.
Okay, well, XE. We'll go to XE and check that out.
I know exactly what the rate is, like a month either side of NAB.
Yeah, and that's it.
As soon as that didn't happen, I kind of lost it. As soon as that got cancelled, I lost all interest. So there we go. Come
on, why'd you have to say that? Okay.
So that's that. Caleb, what are you up to?
Well, working on videos. Got some more camera guides coming up. And then I've had this idea for this guide forever. I'm going to finally get going on it here before too long. It's going to be like a content creators. Essentially, everything I've learned about making videos on the internet over the past 10 years all in one massive mega. It's going to be ridiculous to actually produce it, but looking forward to it. Try to get out of the camera thing. Not maybe forever, but, camera training, especially the ones I do, which is really in depth, just kind of gets to you. Like I'm working on an A60 600, 65, and 6400 one guide.
Yeah.
And like just this, like it's messed up. And yeah, I'm sure you also, have gone through this where when you learn a camera, your brain can't soak it up and retain it when you're bouncing between systems.
Yep.
And there's just so much information, especially with Sony, how every camera has a slight crossover, but every camera is different. So it's just ridiculous keeping up with that. But one thing I wanted to show, sneak peek, I was going to actually shoot Jem a little video of this earlier today, but never got around to it. This is a project I've been working on early in the morning before work. since it's I can't really justify the time for like work hours.
Yeah.
But I'll show it to you guys. So this is an A10 mini case.
Whoa, look at that.
Oh, very cool.
With a monitor built in.
What? Come on.
So you can record to SSDs, monitor all your cameras, all in one case.
That's for the Pro?
Yeah.
Very nice.
So today I put the HDMIs in. Come on, camera. Let's go.
Oh, my goodness.
Come on, Sony. What is this?
Come on.
All right.
Wait, and is that a
It got it.
Is that a 7-inch monitor in there? Yeah.
Yes.
There it is.
It is.
Beautiful. Oh, for goodness sake. What are you doing to me?
It's still early phases, but 3D printed.
I'll pay
and then
you.
7-inch monitor. So the idea is I can take this. You can take it anywhere. It closes up.
Yeah.
All the jacks will be accessible on the outside of the case, and then you're not dealing with a mess of cables. And there will be an HDMI out, so you can also run it to like a, huge monitor if you want to. So that's been a lot of fun. Been really fun to like do something. I really enjoy like engineering. In another life, I think I'd be an electrical engineer.
Yeah.
But I'm not very good at it, but I enjoy it.
Yeah.
So that's been kind of fun.
He says it looks like the case Trump has, which I assume means the nuclear football.
Yeah.
Which I wonder if that's what that looks like when you open it up.
Yeah, that would be very interesting to see the actual football.
Do you reckon it is just
exists.
one big red button that you just go?
Yeah.
Because that's it. It just goes.
Oh man.
Can we? Now I'm kind of drooling right now, and it's not the tequila. I'm gonna have to talk to you about that some more. And can you get a 3/8/16 female receiver on the bottom of that Pelican, so that I can put a large ball mount on there, so I can tripod mount it and then have it on an angle, and then just put it on like a little light stand or something like that? Is that something that can be done?
It's a good idea.
I mean, if I could have, I would, yeah. Tell me.
If I don't know if there's a little bit of room on the bottom. Also has a fan built in and switches because there's no power switch on it.
Stop it.
So I have two switches. One for the power. When you plug it in, a light will pop up. You turn it on. The ATEM turns on.
Ridiculous.
And there's another switch for the monitor, and then a fan keeps it cool because it's gonna get hot.
Yeah.
But no, I think a great solution that I should implement is those like baby plates, but it's a female receiver instead of a male 5/8.
Totally. Yep.
Create like thumb screws on the bottom, so you just like thumb screw on one of those.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And then just go into a grip head, into a knuckle.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
Or a female one, so you can go right on a stand, or like you said.
Yeah, anything. Whatever. Anyone. I mean, it can be either one of those. But if you can get it so I can get it up on a stand, and then I can adjust its angle, then you really, you're killing it right there.
So I don't know. I for a long time I was like, is anyone gonna? People like us wouldn't appreciate it.
How much does the case cost? How much does the Peli cost base?
The Pelican is $50, I think, around 40, 50.
Okay.
So far, the price list for everything, including HDMI cables, switches, everything, is around $400, and that includes the monitor.
It doesn't
take away the monitor,
and the A10 Mini Pro, of course.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
Correct.
$250.
So around $200 if you have a monitor.
Right.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Jeez.
Well done. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. We'll see if it actually fully works once it's fully done. But
hey, Shazam, the iPad producer, has been trying to give us some money, and Google won't let him. Don't worry about it, man. It's totally cool, and we really appreciate, the thought. It's not a big deal. We just love having you guys here. We appreciate, the super chats as well, but we're all here for community as well. So it's totally cool. And I think you have
Daniel
done
Scott
stuff in the
also.
past. Yeah. Do we have other super chats that I'm supposed to be putting up?
Yeah, Daniel Scott, $3.
Where? Come on. I'm so far behind.
What's going on over there, Jim?
I'm listening to you. I'm drooling. I'm drooling over your invention. It's amazing. I'm seriously impressed. And is it something that you would ever do? By the way, Daniel, thank you so much, and it all helps and keeps things moving forward. So, and is there a question? Let me see. What do we got? Pair character stretching his arm forward, raising his thumb up. Beautiful. Is it something you would ever produce, or would it be, and sell? Or is it just sort of, it's a Caleb, let's go down this road.
For my gem, I could hook you up. But for the goal with this, and I've thought a lot about like product design, right, and making stuff, but the amount of time, money that goes into making something, and keeping, supply and demand, and oh gosh, and then to have like some other company rip it off immediately, is just too much. So my goal with these type of videos is what I hope would happen is a company like Tilta, or maybe not Tilta, but some other company then takes my 3D printed, homemade DIY and makes a product that you snap your ATEM Mini into, and boom, you're done.
Yeah.
Would you distribute those plans to people who have 3D printers or not?
Yeah,
because basically you're
all the plans on Thingiverse, so people can just download it and print them out. Or you can take it to your local like makerspace if you don't have a 3D printer. You just get them printed. I
freaking love it.
But hopefully that's what happens. If this is something that is.
There's going to be a lot of ATEM Minis and ATEM Mini Pros out there. I mean, I don't see any less of these coming out in the world. There's going to be a lot of people using them. That's beautiful. Beautiful design. Love it.
Thank you.
That is very nice. Yeah. Time well spent.
And also, what about you, Ben?
Recommendations everyone's dropping. I should have done this sooner.
Yeah.
Ask people what they think should be added and included into it.
Especially the red switches, missile fire switches. What about you, Ben?
I thought about it, but
what have you been doing for the last week or so? Anything interesting? You have any projects cooking or? Yeah,
I've been doing a lot of gardening, but the proper work stuff. There's quite a lot of interest coming back again, as you were saying. There's conversations starting to happen, things starting to liven up again. Not in terms of we're shooting this next Tuesday. Here's the advance check, but. Stuff's coming back to life. The complication at the moment is, as for those of you who don't watch this regularly or new to new viewers, I live in the Czech Republic, but most of my work, certainly up until this year, has been in the UK and elsewhere, which means traveling. And at the moment, that's still kind of complicated. We can now travel to most of Europe, but the UK situation with COVID is still not great. So we can't go there and come back. I can go there, but then I have to do 14 days in quarantine before doing any jobs. Come back here and go into quarantine again. So it's complex. However, some good stuff happening here. I've got a meeting with a TV show with a TV company about a cooking show that's been bubbling away for months. So that's tomorrow morning. So that's very exciting. If that comes off, that'll keep me occupied for a good few months, and we'll see how that goes. So yeah, it's kind of things coming back to life, and particularly on more stuff here, which is obviously very desirable in terms of the situation now, but ongoing as well. If I don't need to travel quite as much as I have been doing, that would be a very welcome thing. I've kind of got used to being at home a lot. It's been nice. Yeah. Normally I get stir crazy after a few days. I've got so used to being on the road all the time, and I've kind of settled into it now a bit more. And So long may that continue. That's I think a lot of people feeling the same thing.
I think I had a new contractor come by last week, and we started walking my barn again. So I think we're gonna do a follow up on that, and let's cross our fingers that this person. I think they know what they're doing, because my neighbor has used them for a lot of work, and I've seen some of the work they've done. But if the prices can come in where they need to, then I would love to break ground on that really soon. I want to be so up and running by the fall in that space, and I have so many ideas for things that I'm really excited about it. And I also don't think I'm going to be getting on as many airplanes. I'm almost positive. I want to get on airplanes for productions, but I don't think there's going to be any conferences I'm going to be teaching at anytime soon, and it's going to probably not be anything I'm going to be doing for companies on site either in terms of training. So we'll have to be see what that is. Let's just keep an eye on this. There's a question that G Wiz asked, which is regarding HDMI versus SDI. And why, when we get to the question section, why is everything going HDMI rather than SDI? So maybe we can put that on the back burner for our stuff. And I just don't want to forget that. Yeah. Or just ask it again in a little while to one of the three of us.
Well, let's just address this now, because this is all about your questions to us this week. It's a Q&A, although we've been whittling on about other things for the last 20 minutes. But if you have got questions, or start thinking about some now, to ask us anything, really. Anything you like. If you want to know gems, like secret fantasy camera, or Caleb's favorite position.
Good save.
Oh my God, that got really dark there for a second. Mic,
you know,
what is going on with my
either
AF?
Of those things, whatever you want to know, you just ask us. You know, anything you like. So I think that the first thing that we need to do, though, is address something from last week. We had an email, or Jem got an email this week, with some insanely in-depth analysis about our challenge from last week. This is from Kevin. And
Kevin Jordan, yes.
Kevin Jordan. So, Kevin, thank you very much for your email. And
thank you so much. Awesome.
This was incredible. Awesome. I couldn't believe it when you sent me this the other day, and I'm looking through this, and that is incredible. So, James, can you maybe have you got this to hand? Can you show everyone what we're talking about here?
Yes, it's up already. I basically just have the first 2 pages, because that's the core breakdown, and then you have a copy of it on your end. So basically, I have yours, mine, it's basically yours, Caleb's, mine, and also Daniel, who was the only other person who put in the $37.99 kit challenge in there. And it's a breakdown on pie charts of where our $37.99 went to in terms of percentages. So why don't you take us through that, and then we can have a quick discussion about it, because I think it was so fascinating to me to see that. I love this kind of stuff.
Well, I think the thing, without going into ridiculously minute detail about the whole thing, I think what was really interesting was looking at the pie chart at a quick glance, is that Daniel's was the most balanced one of the lot.
Did you define balance? Define balance.
As in that the money was spread around the categories of kit. That he got it spread over a far wider range than Caleb and mine are both fairly camera heavy. Yours is pretty good, but you've gone the other way on lighting, whereas Daniel's there's
of course, yeah.
Well, yes, there we go. Okay, so I thought that was amazing, and then there's more analysis in this. This isn't just this page. This goes into more detail. It's amazing.
It really
so maybe
is.
This is something that he's going to do for each of the challenges ongoing. This would be great to get this proper breakdown. At first you see it and you just go, wow, this is all so much detail. But it's just that the pie charts. I love a pie chart. Just so easy.
Me too. Actually, let me see if I can bring in the last page if it's working here. Yeah, and then we have like the full breakdown at the end where he breaks down everything in one place. It's just fascinating to me. So great job, Kevin.
Really great.
And really, thank you so much for doing it. And if you're game when we do future challenges and you want to do breakdowns again, we totally understand if you don't, but I'm in. So there you go.
If you find yourself bored again, you've got numbers available.
Yeah.
Or whatever you use to make this. It's great.
It was amazing. And I think it's only fair then that the first question that we should answer this week is from Kevin, which says, as I contemplate a career in video production, I want to ask, what made you decide to do video production? How did you get started? Gents, what's the story? How did we all end up where we are?
I'll get mine out of the way. Just really interested in cameras, video, and then started doing little gigs as a high schooler. I would film a basketball game and sell DVDs to parents, things like that in senior high school. Just got more and more into it. And then while I was starting to get in production, working my way through the ranks, also had a web background. So I started what's now a YouTube channel. And it just, people kept asking questions. And then here we are.
Excellent.
But yeah, always loved media, video. The tech behind it.
So with you, was the interest always more the tech or the kind of craft? Someone asked me this recently.
It started with documentary kind of stuff. Like I would film these like really awful versions of Philip Bloom films. You know how his films are images of locations and things. That's kind of how it started for me, and just how satisfying it is to take images and create something other than just static, boring videos,
Yep.
Cool.
Nice.
And Jem, yours, I know we've had this conversation a few times. I think we've talked on his. You were sort of around photography from a young age, similar to me.
Yeah, I'll do the very short version. Grew up around photography for most of my life as a child. And both my stepfather, when I was really little, and then when I moved to New York and I was adopted, my adopted father, he made a career change from the music industry into photography in his 30s. So we had a darkroom in our kitchen, and I got a used Pentax K1000 eventually. Kind of went early into high school doing stuff related to photography, and then let that drop off, and then actually did some video stuff in high school as well. So we did some tape-to-tape stuff, and I remember we did a big project, a friend and I, in high school where we shot a video, and we we kind of pissed off the teachers a little bit because the video was like a day in the life, but at a certain point we pointed out some of the things that we didn't like about the way the teachers handled things, but they were all watching the video, so they were loving the video up until the point where we started taking the piss out of a couple of things, but it was fun. And then really not a lot in the video world until much later on. So about another 6-7 years later, after finishing school, I started working in website development, and we were doing a lot of web stuff. And when I started my company, I started to get clients in the music industry, oddly enough, kind of full circle. And I had one particular client who had a multi-camera concert that they wanted to transfer to DVD. And we were doing really website development, but they had all of these they were digi-beta masters of all the different camera angles. And what we basically did is create a DVD version of that. So I had the first mirrored SuperDrive-based Mac, and got the original version of DVD Studio Pro 1.0, a copy of After Effects 4 to design the DVD menus. And that one client actually started to ask for new original content. And that was kind of my beginnings of getting into video production as a producer. And then we started shooting electronic press kits for a record label. And I really had no idea how any of it worked. I was just making it up as I went along. And I caught the bug because I was really itching to find out really why it was taking so long for crews to do certain things that I was watching and thinking could maybe be done faster. But I didn't know, and I couldn't tell them that. So I just started to learn production myself, and that's kind of how I got into it. So that's a short version. But then once I caught the bug, I was also teaching post-production, doing production as my day job, and eventually decided to start teaching it as well. So it was fun, and here we are, and we live in the video world. That's my short. And you? How did you get into video, though, Mr. Photographer Boy? Because you are big in video now.
Yeah, far more than stills. I think, the stills, similar to you, I was always around it. My mum was a journalist, still is, and she worked for a newspaper, and the photographers were all amazing humans, all of them. And I did my work experience with those guys. And when I was 15 on my school work experience, and I got drunk because they used to keep Merrydown cider in the fridges where they used to keep the chemicals in the dark room. Like, you imagine this now, like they'd be in prison.
You getting
And
drunk?
so,
Oh no,
Yeah, right.
sorry. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, actually, I was 14. And you were then drinking this, and then my teacher would come to do the check, and they go, "Oh no, like he's doing great, but he's in the dark room, and if we open the door, it'll ruin everything he's doing." So like, yeah, but he's cool because I'm a half cut in there. And I thought this seems like a really good way to earn a living. This seems like a lot of fun. And so I used to do all sorts. My mum, she used to do a lot of features rather than the news stuff. And often that was evenings and weekends, and the staff photographers weren't around. So they used to lend me kit, huge Metz hammerhead flash guns. It was like 4 times the size of the camera that we were using, and they'd lend me cameras and lenses, and they'd take me through it all before I go. So my mum took me to a transvestite club when I was 16, which was like one of my first paid. I think that was my first paid gig, my first published photographs. But she conned me. She said, "Do you want to come to Blackpool?" Which is kind of the Vegas of the north of England, sort of. And if you want to come and there's a show on, it's in some theatre. If you want to come and take pictures of the girls getting changed, that'd be cool. And I'm like, get paid for it? Yeah, I'll do that. And then we're on the way down, and so what's the name of this theatre? And she said, it's not a theatre, it's a nightclub. And what's the nightclub called? She said, it's called Funny Girls. It's a transvestite club. And what? So, and it was the most amazing night. It was such fun. They were all incredible because they were just like so confident in front of the camera, and I was this young kid, and they were so cool with me, and just it was the best. And I kind of fell in love with it, the whole thing from an early age. And then I studied audio and video production at university. I was in bands when I was sort of 16, 17, 18. And we used to save up our money, rent a recording studio, record our terrible songs. And then I kind of got into the idea of that. Started doing the audio video production course. Didn't like the idea of being stuck in a recording studio my entire working life and not seeing daylight. And the video thing became much more interesting to me. Left there, graduated, got a staff job as a photographer, which was an amazing job. And those things at the time were quite rare, those kind of jobs. That was for a tourist promotion agency. That was great. And went on my own after that. And then the video stuff started coming back in, and the 5D. The 5D came in. Finally, we could make video that didn't look like shit. Finally, we could, all the stuff that I knew as a photographer, and I always wanted to make video that looked, I had the same level of control that I did for stills, and all of a sudden I could do it. And I now had this big client base that I was doing stills for, and it was a very easy thing to transition into doing video, because it was at the time that the internet speeds were getting up to the standard that you would need to be putting video on social media, and YouTube coming out, all that kind of stuff. It all just happened. I was lucky, it all timed perfectly. So that was that. And now that takes up, I would say, 80% of my work is video, maybe 90.
Cool.
Do you remember when uploading 720p videos was like, yeah, baby.
Oh, I know, yeah. I know, yeah.
My original website had pop-ups. They were 360 by 240. So right? I think that was the aspect ratio. So I'd have these tiny little, we would do these videos like commercials and videos for clients, and I'd have these little QuickTime pop-up windows that were at 360 by 240.
Oh, man.
And I was
that
like,
just took me back hardcore.
Because I did not want to embed them. I mean, and prior to that, we were doing all kinds of things. Shiz, these are the vibes, okay? That's what the XT3 gives you when you kind of do that. It had a seizure, but who cares? You noticed it kept you awake.
She's a wild woman, that XT3.
She is a wild woman.
She's
that long flowing
but
hair.
You love her.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I said. Exactly.
Yeah, no, that takes me back. Putting like QuickTime videos on websites and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
man.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
All right. So I spotted another question, which was from Jago about recommendations for 7-inch monitors. Jago's just bought himself a C200, which I'm very excited about because we work together a lot, which means now we have one each. So that's great. Yep. But he's after a monitor. So what would you recommend? He's saying small HD. Is that what? Do we need to shell out for that?
Who's asking for? Who are you asking first? Myself or Caleb?
Let's go,
Gems
Kate.
more.
I don't know.
I
Well, you're
mean,
looking for SDI, right?
yeah. I mean, this is a
I would
long.
imagine.
This is yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It depends
SDI.
on what you're using with it, right? If you're looking for a color accurate, high out or like bright,
Bright.
like
I think
to me,
is the key.
it's like picking a camera. You need to pick the 75% of what you actually need the most, and then forget the rest of the specs.
Yep.
So yeah, small HD is great. If you're just looking for a bigger image, you don't really care about all that other stuff, but you also maybe want bright. The Chinese stuff is really figuring out really bright 1080p monitors for like nothing.
Yep.
There's a gazillion SDI HD monitors that have 2000 nit, but they're going to look.
Yeah,
They're not, you don't want to trust the color on that. But if that's what you're looking for and you want to save, $500, $1,000, then
Yep.
a couple $100 gets you in the game.
I mean,
but I wouldn't use those for color. Gem?
No. Well, and I'm not saying that Atomos or Small HD are Flanders scientific at either when you're thinking about color accuracy.
Sure.
And you have to be realistic about what your expectation is when you're buying a monitor that costs $400 to, let's say, $1,200 US. And there are less expensive ones. I ask questions like, do you need in-out capabilities, or is it only an input signal? I think that at a certain point, you'll become frustrated that you don't have any out capabilities, because you'll want to, like, for instance, today, I was taking a feed from a camera into a monitor, and then I had to go get a different monitor because I wanted to take that feed and I wanted to feed it into the A10 Mini because I wanted to feed that signal but also be able to monitor it. So having in-out capabilities, deciding whether or not you need to have HDMI, SDI, or both is important. OLED versus LCD. Generally, right now, OLED is going to give you a better contrast ratio, but it's definitely not going to be nearly as bright in terms of nits. Your OLED displays are sitting probably at 300 to 400, whereas getting to 1,000 to 1,500 nits on an LCD-based panel is going to be a lot easier. And then for me, which I think is the big thing, is you have to think about the tools that you need to access inside of that monitor. And hands down, without question, bar none for me, Small HD has the best user experience, the best tools in terms of how you access them and you use them inside of the system. And Atomos is a close-ish second when it comes to their tools, but they're not as consistent as OS3 in Small HD. So whether or not you pick up a 1703 or you pick up a 502 or you pick up a Focus, the user interface is the same across the boards with Small HD, which I think is huge. Some of them are touchscreen, some of them are not, but that how you get to the tools and you build pages and you add tools is going to be the same with all of them. So, I think that that's a really important thing to decide, really make a decision about. And on the cheap monitors, I mean, Caleb can talk about this, but I think only Andy Cine with their new monitor or monitors are the ones that have really kind of stepped up with relatively good tools and user interface compared to some of the other Chinese non-Small HD Atomos kind of monitors. Is that right? I mean, yeah. So,
the new king right now, if you don't need SDI, is the DesView R7.
How do you?
It's DesView, DES View, I believe, but they dadgum, it's good, real good, like the best. It's a new standard, really, for the cheap stuff, and it's like I think it's like $200, $250.
Wow.
For an all touchscreen menu system, scopes, vector scope, everything.
Right.
HDMI
What's
only.
The power source?
But MPF or has a DC jack. But I'm with Gem. Like the more and more I I love Adamus and I love messing around with these cheap monitors because it's ridiculous how good they're getting right now. And like metal housings and all this kind of thing. But honestly, a big part of me just wants to get rid of everything and go all small HD. Just the OS is incredible.
It is.
I haven't used it in a while, but
yeah,
in the last couple of months, I've gone back to my small HD monitors, and the OS is just, it's ridiculous. I want bigger monitors, but I don't really want to pony up just yet. There's other things I need to take care of financially, but man, it's insane. Like customizing the pages, like I've got a page where right here I've got a little square that reads the waveform and displays it in red off to one side, so I can put a gray card in, check middle gray and skin in seconds, and then swipe away, and boom, I'm back to my main setup.
Like a spot meter for your waveform. Like a spot meter for your waveform monitor.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah. There's so much you can do with those monitors.
Yeah, it's just...
I have a question on this.
I'd love to have one that's got
I've played with one.
Yeah.
But I've never owned one. Sorry to cut you off. But what are they like in terms of power draw? Because that's always the one thing that when I've had the Atomos stuff, which I've loved them to. And obviously we're talking about a different thing because they're recorder and because they've got the recording element in it. We're not just monitoring. But those things are rinsing like MPF 970s in like minutes.
Yeah, so on the Shinobi would change your life if you're doing Atomos. The Shinobi, the battery life on that, you could put a little baby MPF. What are they? The 550s, those thin ones. Yeah, that'll just go and go and go and go. On the Shinobi, small HD, I've never really tested, but my Focus, the 5-inch, with like brightness all the way up, will go forever. I feel like.
I will tell you that the one thing to look out for with small HD, and then I think we should move on to something else because we want to have other questions, is when you see their monitors in frame, which is unusual, but when you're creating educational content or things like that, it's important. There are some sync issues. I do have to go in and take my cameras into a Hertz-based shutter so that I can match whatever the refresh rate is of the monitors. And I found that that's true with quite a few of the small HD monitors, which is, strange, but it's just something to consider if you want to see the monitors in the frame. But all in all, I am happy with my use of them. And, I don't tend to do a lot of external recording. So, they seem to fit well, though I think with the sort of multicam switching that you get out of a Shogun 7 and also out of the Sumo 19, not the M, which is just the monitor version, but the 19, those are really interesting units as well. You just have to watch out for the Sumo because the Sumo, unless you put something, and it's a very bright monitor, so you could put like a matte screen protector on it, but they're very, very reflective, incredibly, the Sumo monitors. So as soon as you go outside, even with the sunshade, it's a challenge when you're doing stuff, for sure. That's what I got.
All right. I'm just having a quick browse back for any more questions. Have either of you two spotted any more? I don't think we've got any.
Well, I think we have there's two questions. There's one that has to do with why are so many people going HDMI versus SDI, and then the second question, which has sort of been an ongoing conversation in the chat, is from Bart, and he's asking about basically soundproofing a studio space. So I think both of those are worth having at least a discussion about. So, yeah, those are the ones I've noticed so far. And if you want to ask questions, again, and at the C47 and at Ben Barden and at Caleb Pike, just so we know who the original question is, to, and that will help us for sure. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. All right, then. HDMI, SDI. Go on, Jem. Kick off on that one.
Well, I mean, part of it's going to be cost, of course, and there's a lot of cameras that are using only HDMI as their output, and it's inexpensive, easy to implement. And there's 3 versions of HDMI. You've got, micro, you've got mini, and you've got full size. So when you're designing a camera system, you have some flexibility in terms of what that's going to be, though that can become frustrating, including the comment about a proprietary sort of connection to something like the small HD Focus. But they did that so that it was, it was really solid in terms of that connection inside of there, and you wouldn't run into what one of the biggest problems with HDMI is, which it's constantly either getting pulled out of the terminal or the port, or that it's breaking off. And mini HDMI is notorious for breaking. I mean, I just went back to a system that was using mini HDMI, and we broke a cable in like a day, and it just reminded me of the pains that I went through with all those Canon DSLRs. SDI is great, positive locking, but in all honesty, also there's different levels of SDI, and when you start talking about all of that stuff, if you have at least HDMI 2.0, you can do UHD 4K over HDMI 2.0, and it's a relatively easy implementation. So I think that might be also another reason. What the F is going on here? Come on. David Carroll, Super Chat, $24.99 from David Carroll. Get that barn going.
Amazing.
Thank you. Unbelievable. That is craziness. Thank you very much, David. Glad we're having our chats about stuff, and hopefully we're covering some of the stuff you emailed me about earlier on today, and then have time to answer everything about. So there you go. There's my thoughts on HDMI and SDI, and thank you, David, for the super chat. There we go.
You ought to start like a super chat like barn fund, and your name gets put on the barn wall on like one of the walls.
Oh, like a plaque. That would be amazing. I would totally do that.
And
I would do it. I would do it. Yeah, I would for sure do that. Okay, good. Yep. Okay.
All right. I think that's a pretty good rundown on the two systems. Anything you want to add on that before we move on, Caleb?
Nope.
Okay.
XCI. Hearts.
There we go. Yeah, I know. Me too. I know.
HDMI. The one thing I will say, I guess, is HDMI's got the sexy, fun, wild stuff.
Yes.
like all the ProRes raw. There's more going on with that and USB or DisplayPort. USB-C, all that fun stuff. But
but a fickle mistress. A fickle mistress.
Yep. She won't be with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Exactly.
By the way, everybody who's here.
What? You ain't getting 5-axis image stabilization at home episode.
Fund my installation. I will say this: everybody who's here, I mean, this is our core group and the core people at the channel. You can also let me know what it is that you're looking for in terms of content here on the channel. If I'm not interested in creating it, trust me, I won't. But I do want to hear from you in terms of the things that you want me to be creating content on. And it does help in terms of where I start to think about all of these things that I'm doing. So just keep that in mind and feel free to give me that feedback. Cool. All right. Bye, Pat. Cool.
So just before we go on to the soundproofing, Small Brown Fox has a question on the XT4. So one for you, Jim, or for both of you, I guess. The EVF looks choppy on his seconds. It jitters. The first one was the same. I thought it was related to the refresh rate, but not sure. Anything you two can shed light on? I've never used that camera, so I have no idea.
I mean, I'd be interested in what your exact camera settings are. I mean, if you're used to shooting with camera systems and you're shooting at 24 and you're shooting, with a shutter of a 48th of a second, and you're seeing a big difference between what you're seeing on your built-in screen on the XT4 and other camera systems that you're using, then that's one thing. If you don't have a lot of experience shooting, let's say 24, and you're moving that camera around quickly at that shutter speed, you're going to see some jitters because that's part of the whole cadence and the feeling of when you're shooting at that frame rate, unless you start to move the camera at a different speed and do those types of things. So the more information you can give us on that, and maybe Caleb can step in and ask some questions. But I have an XT4, and I'm not seeing any issues in terms of monitoring picture that seems strange to me at all when I'm using that camera.
Yeah, I have nothing to add there. I haven't really played with the EVF much on the XT4.
Wait, you're saying, the EVF? No, not really.
That's what he said,
I
right?
Think
the
I
screen?
think you're right. Yeah, I don't use the EVF very much, and when I have used it, I haven't noticed a lot of lag. It's not something that I would use very often. I think you might be. No, I think you're right.
Yeah,
it
check
is
your
EVF,
firmware
right?
update, try different lights, see if that's the problem, all that stuff.
Yeah, but I haven't seen any things that stand out to me when I'm shooting with that camera in video. Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Okay. Question 4. The two of you, what's the best mic setup for YouTube videos? I have the one rolling mic stand set up. Thanks to Caleb's great idea, and was thinking about upgrading from the Rode Video Micro. That's from Jake McHugh.
Well, there's kind of 2 tiers, right? Or 3, I guess. There's the entry level, which is what you have, like kind of the Rode Video Micro, great little microphone.
Love it.
Next step up is the new generation of kind of smart mics, if you will, where you've got the NTG, Rode Video Mic NTG, the DD D3 Pro, which also can be used with XLR devices, which is cool. Or wait, can the Rode be used with like a phantom powered situation? No.
Which Rode?
It can. The Rode NTG, Video Micro NTG.
No, there's a way to convert
NTG.
it to XLR, but it's not phantom, right? Because it's got the built-in battery.
Okay, so it can be used, but the D3 Pro is the ultimate hybrid mic. It can be used with literally anything, including you can feed it phantom power. And then you're moving up to XLR, in which case you need to figure out if your camera can handle that, or if you need to go with 2 recorder. My pick is going to be, one of those 2 mics from Rode or DD. If you're going to move to the next level, they can grow with you over time. I love that they're, interchangeable with other XLR microphone mounts and stuff. And then up from there, it depends on your preference. I know Jem is a big fan of cardioid. For me, I've always been in a space where there's been a sound issue or source of sound that I'm trying to avoid. So even though it has a wider pickup, if you're trying to get a wider shot, I prefer something a little more directional. Even if there's a tail and there's issues there, which is a whole other situation. So something like DDS Mic 2, NTG. I know, Ben, you're a big NTG 2. You rock that mic, right? And then, of course, there's the ultimate mic, which I have been thinking about purchasing recently, and that's the MK H416.
Yep.
And then the 600, which I need to... Have either of you worked with that one? Little brother?
Bit. Yeah, a little bit. But a sound recorder, so I haven't used it myself, but we've had it on jobs for sure.
Sure.
So, yeah. Yep.
It's great.
Anyway.
I find it slightly like you've got to keep it on axis. Like I find it quite hard work to if your talent goes off and they're moving around a lot and you've got the thing on a boom, it tends to drop off quite suddenly. The profile.
The 600
really
or the 416?
The 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
And that seems to be. I find like the audio when it's spot on is so beautiful, but it's such a marked drop off, and I found the Rode stuff always to be it's not as nice when it's when everything's perfect, but I found it very forgiving.
Yeah,
it's a very gentle roll off as the talent goes off axis.
Okay,
it's my only comment on that. Right, have we got any more, or do we want to go on to the soundproofing?
Yeah,
the last question.
I mean, on the mic thing, I just think you have to think about what kind of content you're trying to create for YouTube. I think once we start to get into boom mics, you start to look into and start to have a discussion about expanded video production, right? You're getting out there and you're doing production. It doesn't mean that YouTube content is not expanded in sometimes on location, but I think that, the reason that I like the NTG, 55 is because the NT55 is because it doesn't have a tail. So when I'm inside, even though it has a wider pickup pattern in the front, if you have an HVAC system or you have a lot of stuff going on above the mic, you're picking up less of those problems. So it solves some problems in interior spaces. But the other thing is, like, for instance, I'm using the HS2 right now from Rode as a headset mic. They're not the only people who make it. And I'm using that with the Wireless Go. And I like it because it gives me a lot of flexibility to be able to move around without my sound levels changing. So, the mic is attached to me like a lav, but it has very close proximity. But it's not a good solution for everybody. If you're doing exercise videos, if you're doing training videos, if you're picking up equipment a lot, then I think a headset mic makes a lot of sense. But I don't think it has application for day in, day out production all of the time. Because visually it's a headset mic, which is not necessarily what you want to have all the time.
I have a question on that one.
Yeah.
With your headset mic. Did you put that on when you watched the SpaceX launch last week? I pretend you were a little controller. You look very.
I
NASA.
I am not because I'm a short, white, bald guy with a beard. Yeah, I guess so. No, I didn't watch it.
You look kind of NASA-y. Yeah, no.
Or kind of like Jem's vacuum cleaners. How may I help you?
Hello, may I help you? Which model do you own? And can we pull up your service contract?
Do you have
that?
trouble with your lawnmower?
I'm still trying to pick up I'm trying to buy Flowbee. I think we still have some time there with in-home vacuum-based haircuts, but who knows? All right, let's go. I'm ready. What you got for me?
Right, let's have a scroll through. Anyone else spotted anything? We've got 4 minutes left, so we're gonna have to be quick.
Of course, now all the questions are flying.
Rode Stereo Video Mic Pro.
Not unless you need a stereo mic. I mean,
if you want
great.
one, get the Asden SMX30 because it's essentially a Rode Video Mic Pro Gen 2 with a stereo mic on top and a switch to let you select which one you want.
Nice.
And it has
so you can select it as a mono. Okay, cool.
Yeah, you can go. It's essentially a Rode Video Mic Pro that also has a stereo mic on top of it. Right. SMX30, and then it has it can do the stuff where it's got one channel of the left and right is like 15 dB lower, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, I mean, a stereo mic is two mono mics that are in a certain degree angle crossing over each other to capture a stereo pattern. Sorry about that. Chris, howdy to you, and howdy back to, yes, all that good stuff. Good. I don't know what else we're talking. There's so many, always at the end. Maybe we should do like a part 2 next week and just start with the questions, because you were worried that we weren't going to get a lot of questions, Ben, but now the questions are coming in. I think it could probably be a little bit more organized too in terms of how it happens. I think maybe.
How are we going to structure it differently then for next week so that we get them all in early?
Well, I love that Kevin sent his question through the website, just went to the contact page on the c47.com and did that. And I think that really helped, because then we could have questions sort of on deck. But I also want people to be able to ask questions, right in the chat. He came through. Gee whiz, come on. $14.99 coffee money. This is going to be the most expensive Nespresso machine in my studio in the barn that we've ever seen ever. There's going to have to be an espresso machine plaque as well. Thank you very much. Love having you here and really appreciate you being a part of the channel. Nice. Good. Lightning
very
round.
kind of
okay. You. Yeah,
Love
very
it.
cool.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
We could do next week, we could assign someone the job of kind of really staying on top of chat. It's hard, especially with, us talking about stuff and glancing over and all that.
You're
fun
the host
stuff.
next week. You're the host. So I think, aren't you? I was last week.
I'm sure.
Week.
I feel like it's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. All right.
Yeah.
So part 2, Q&A part 2. We should call this like social distance party or something.
Yeah, and you
just
give me
do it
a
again.
title. Yeah, I'm in, and we can
All right.
start to talk. Bart, we can do an offline conversation about some of the things I've been thinking about for insulation related to space. Closed cell insulation is really expensive, but really good. Rock wool is something that you could use. There are some products in the audio and music industry, which are essentially rubber membrane that you put before your sheetrock or your drywall. But I'm a little concerned about those because of condensation. So I'm not saying I have answers for you, but I'm definitely on the road to figuring out ways to take sound and eliminate it coming into the space. Treating your space is easy. That's sound blankets and, acoustical panels. And I'm not saying easy, but it's actually making sure that the sound from the outside world is not coming into your space. That is really the challenge. So
that's very hard.
That's all I got for you. Very hard. Especially
last question from Bart. Let's be real. This is going to be the C47 mannequin fund.
I would not be surprised with all of you Flaskers out there when you've been learning your lighting during COVID-19 that you don't have a mannequin or two hanging around. So I'm not calling you people out too. I'm just saying
he's gonna upgrade. He's gonna upgrade. It's gonna be it's not just a standard mannequin. It's gonna be a real mannequin.
I don't even know what that means. But it's past 4:00 now, so I can end this anytime I want. I'm the super user over here. I love you guys. Let's get some parting words. Come on, what's the deal here?
Oh,
boy.
Go on, take it.
Oh, geez.
No.
Well, here we are. Another great episode. Loved seeing all you guys. We'll see you next week. Be kind. Give somebody a hug if they need a hug and they are okay with a hug. And Ben, I don't know.
It's just always amazing fun, these Wednesday nights. It's always just huge entertainment and such a laugh, and enjoy it immensely. So thanks you all again for showing up. The two of you always love spending time with, and everyone in the chat as well. So, Jem, final words?
Just still surprised and shocked that the two of you come to this channel every week to hang out with me. Consider you two of my best friends. And I'm shocked by the fact that you're still here. But love this small community that we have. Hope it grows. And we're here to help you have a little bit of, a break from everything. But just know that above everything else, that we're here as a resource for you to help you figure out how to do what it is that you're doing as content creators, storytellers, filmmakers, and do that better. That's why we're doing this, so that we can hang out with each other, but also help you with these things. And I guess next week we'll do part 2 of this. And if you have questions, just go over to the c47.com, send me an email. It will get added to a list, and then we'll also have questions coming in to the chat. You guys are all great. And by guys, I mean guys, gals, anybody. We're happy to have you here on the channel, and we'll see you next Wednesday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. Pitter patter of children above Caleb.
We're sorry, Cassie.
A bed waiting for Ben.
Your mannequin. What?
We're out. And finish we go. All the best. Take care, everybody.
No.